I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you are on like the most meticulously planned, flawless first date of your entire life.
Oh, setting the bar high right away.
Right. But seriously, you've picked the perfect spot, the conversation is just flowing effortlessly, and you're both laughing at, the exact right moments. You are entirely in the zone.
Everything's clicking.
Everything. And then I want you to imagine the precise, just stomach-dropping moment. It all crashes and burns. And not just crashes, but in a spectacular, agonizingly public fashion.
Yeah. I mean, that is the universal nightmare, really.
Totally.
It's that sudden shift from being completely in control of your social environment to just being utterly helplessly exposed.
Well, welcome to today's deep dive. We are pulling from a really beautifully written personal essay that was published on Write.s, and it details a romantic dinner at this elegant bistro that just goes catastrophically off the rails due to a technological failure.
A very relatable technological failure.
Oh, absolutely. But our mission today isn't just to recount, a bad date. We are actually going to explore how a moment of crushing public humiliation was transformed into this profound testament to human empathy.
It's a great piece.
It really is. It's a story that proves sometimes a broken experience is actually far more valuable than a perfect one.
Right. And to do that, we'll be dissecting the deep social psychology of embarrassment, the architecture of modern dating, and what we might call the unexpected mechanics of grace.
Yeah, the mechanics of grace. I love that.
Right.
So to really understand how deeply this particular failure cuts, we first have to look at what was being built in that room. The essay paints this intense picture of the initial setup. The narrator actually says the setting was chosen with the precision of a surgeon.
Which, is a very revealing choice of words.
Right.
It tells you exactly what the narrator's mindset is going in. I mean, this isn't a casual coffee meetup just to see if they vibe. This is a highly calculated operation.
It's tactical. Paint the sensory picture with me here for a second. We are in a quiet, lamplit bistro tucked into a corner of the city. The essay describes soft amber lighting, unobtrusive jazz playing in the background, and the air is hanging heavy with the scent of rosemary and slow-simmered sauces.
Very cinematic.
Exactly. The author explicitly calls it a place that understood the physics of intimacy.
The physics of intimacy. That's a striking phrase, isn't it?
It really is.
Because it acknowledges that intimacy, at least in this curated context, isn't really treated as a spontaneous emotion. It's something being actively engineered by environmental factors.
So the room is doing the work.
Essentially, yes. The amber lighting literally dilates the pupils and slows the pulse. The jazz fills any potential awkward silences so your brain doesn't register lull in conversation as a failure. And the food provides a shared sensory baseline.
And the couple at the center of this engineered intimacy, you have the narrator, who is incredibly eager for this to be the beginning of something lasting. And then you have Claire.
Right, Claire.
Claire is described as vibrant. She has this engaging presence that just absorbs the world around her. And the flow of the evening really reflects that. They're moving effortlessly from office politics to the profound sense of place you get from travel to childhood memories.
Just jumping from topic to topic.
Yeah. And there are no phones on the table, just rare, grounded presence.
So the environmental engineering is working exactly as intended.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because reading this, I kept thinking about a movie director.
Oh, how so?
Think about a director staging a sweeping romantic movie scene, but with a twist. The director is also the lead actor. Everything is highly curated to guarantee a specific outcome. The lighting, the wardrobe, the dialogue pacing. But I have to ask, isn't there an argument that he's just being a good host?
Sure.
Like, we all try to set the stage for a nice evening. Is it really that problematic to focus on the perfection of the environment?
What's fascinating here is that it's not inherently problematic to want a nice evening, but there's a profound fragility to this kind of perfection.
Really?
Yeah. When you curate an evening with the precision of a surgeon, you are building an incredibly complex piece of social machinery. You're replacing spontaneous, resilient connection with a kind of environmental crutch.
Huh. So the restaurant is doing the heavy lifting for them.
Exactly. I'd compare it to wearing a high-end noise-canceling headset.
Okay, I track with that.
Right. It creates this beautiful, isolated bubble of pure audio perfection. It feels like magic. But the entire experience is reliant on a battery.
And when the battery dies?
All the ambient chaos of the room, the sirens, the chatter, the clattering dishes, it floods in all at once, and the contrast is jarring. The narrator is relying on the restaurant's ambiance to maintain the bubble. And because he is so invested in maintaining the illusion of effortless control, he is incredibly vulnerable to any disruption.
And because the evening is relying so heavily on that flawless forward momentum, literally all it takes is a single prop malfunctioning to shatter the entire illusion.
The fracture.
The fracture. Let's look at it. The coffee has arrived. The last crumbs of a shared chocolate torte have been cleared away. The server arrives with the check in one of those slender, dark leather folders.
Right, the classic fine dining presentation.
Yep. And the narrator handles it smoothly. He confidently slides a card in without even pausing the conversation, while Claire is right in the middle of telling this funny story about a disastrous move-in day.
Notice what he's doing there. He is maintaining the illusion that the financial transaction is completely secondary to their connection.
Right.
It's all part of the seamless performance.
But then the server returns, and she's hesitant. She leans in and whispers, specifically so she doesn't alert the other tables. "I'm so sorry, but your card didn't go through."
Oof, the drop in temperature in that room is palpable even just reading it.
Oh, it's visceral. The internal reaction is immediate disbelief, swiftly followed by a sickening wave of heat rushing up the neck and settling in the cheeks.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
I want to ask you, the listener, to think about the last time you were called out publicly. Like, you don't just feel it in your mind. Your ears literally get hot. Your chest tightens. Why does our biology betray us like that over, a piece of plastic declining?
Because your autonomic nervous system doesn't know the difference between a declined credit card and a literal saber-toothed tiger.
A saber-toothed hug.
Seriously, it's the fight or flight response.
Triggered by a restaurant bill?
From an evolutionary standpoint, yes. For early humans, social rejection or public inadequacy meant exile from the tribe.
And exile meant death.
Exactly. So when the server whispers that the card failed, the narrator's brain doesn't process it as a minor banking error. It processes as a mortal threat to his social standing.
Wow.
Blood rushes to the face and neck to prepare the body for physical action, the heart rate spikes, and the auditory cortex gets flooded.
Which perfectly explains what happens next in the essay. Everything that was working for them is suddenly working against them. The author notes that the jazz suddenly sounds way too loud.
Because he's hyper-aware now.
Yes. The clinking of glasses at other tables becomes grating. And Claire, who was just vibrant and engaged, suddenly has this flicker of discomfort in her eyes.
The noise-canceling headset just died.
The machinery broke, and the narrator does what anyone would do. He asks to try it one more time.
Oh, the standard, desperate play to buy time.
Just praying for a different outcome, but the second decline seals it. The server comes back, it's still not working. Now, the narrator secretly checks his banking app out of view, and here's the agonizing twist.
It always is.
The balance is perfectly solvent. He has the money.
Oh, that makes it so much worse.
It's just a technical glitch, but the social damage is done. Claire's warmth is completely replaced by this careful, polite distance. They leave what cash they have to cover the coffee and make a hasty, really awkward exit.
The contrast there is fascinating.
Yeah.
The digital truth, the cold, hard data on the app says he is solvent, but the social reality of the room says he is inadequate.
Here's where it gets really interesting. I want to theorize on this for a second, because why does a piece of plastic failing negate an hour and a half of genuine chemistry? They were just talking about their childhoods.
Right.
It feels like it triggers some deep-seated fear of being seen as a poor provider. Is he just failing the traditional dating script?
This raises an important question. You're hitting on something crucial with the provider script, but it actually goes deeper into the broader social contract we adhere to in these curated spaces.
How so?
Well, when you are on a first date, you are projecting an idealized version of yourself. You are capable, you are competent, you are the architect of a good experience.
Right.
The declined card rips that mask off.
It's the sudden loss of control.
Yes. It forces a jarring transition from private, curated intimacy to public inadequacy. The failure isn't just between the narrator and Claire anymore. The server knows.
The table next to them probably knows.
Exactly. The narrator has failed the social contract of the fine dining environment, which is, I project competence and the staff facilitates the illusion. When you can't pay, you suddenly feel like an imposter who snuck into the building.
And that absolute collapse of the idealized self is what makes their physical exit from the restaurant feel less like the end of a date and more like fleeing the scene of a crime.
Fleeing is the right word.
They step out into the cool night air. The narrator is engulfed in shame, literally walking with his head down, desperately trying to assemble an adequate apology to somehow salvage this disaster. The script is entirely dead.
Completely derailed.
But then it gets flipped in a way no one could have predicted.
The intervention.
Yes. The narrator is walking, humiliated, and he feels a light touch on his sleeve.
Yeah.
He turns around, and it's the server. She is rushed out of the restaurant after them.
Into the street.
Right into the street. The essay says she's breathing heavily. Her cheeks are pink from sprinting down the block to catch them. She leans in, eyes reflecting the streetlights, and whispers a completely confidential confession. She says, "Sir, I lied."
2 words that fundamentally rewrite the reality of the past 15 minutes.
She presses the original folded receipt into his hand, and before he can even process what is happening, she turns and runs back through the revolving doors into the bistro.
Incredible.
The narrator unfolds the slip of paper in the dark. The total is circled, and next to it, scrawled in simple, definitive marker, is the word paid.
It's just an astonishing moment of narrative whiplash.
So what does this all mean? The mechanics of what this server actually did are incredible when you break it down. Think about it like a magician secretly taking a bullet for an audience member.
That's a great way to put it.
Because she didn't just quietly pay for their meal, she actively lied to them at the table during that second attempt. She stood there, looked at a mortified customer, and said, "It's still not going through," knowing full well she had already decided out of her own pocket to cover it.
Yeah.
She kept the illusion alive just long enough to get them safely off the stage.
I love that analogy because it highlights her profound emotional intelligence. She understood exactly what we were just discussing regarding the public nature of humiliation.
Which raises the question, why didn't she just say it at the table? Why not just say, "Hey, your card isn't working, but don't worry, I've got this one"? I feel like most people trying to do a good deed would want the immediate relief of solving the problem right there.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, if she had announced that at the table, it would have transformed the interaction from grace into a deeply humiliating form of charity.
Oh, that would have been excruciating. "I can't pay for my date, so the waitress is buying our dinner."
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not a romantic save. That's a death blow to the ego.
Precisely. It would have amplified the power dynamic where the narrator is helpless and requires rescuing in front of his romantic interest.
So true.
By claiming the machine was still broken, she let them leave with their dignity, albeit bruised dignity. And then, by revealing the gift in the dark, anonymously and quickly, she dissolved the social pain privately.
She removed the audience.
She removed the audience. It was an act of radical compassion, engineered purely to help a stranger, not to gain praise or gratitude. She literally ran away before he could even say thank you.
Which brings us to the aftermath. Because this intervention by a total stranger completely resets the dynamic between the narrator and Claire. It forces them, and it forces us reading it, to look at what true connection actually requires.
Yeah, the curated perfection they spent the first hour building is gone, but what replaces it is infinitely more authentic.
Suffocating tension that had gripped them for 15 minutes instantly dissolves. The narrator shows Claire the receipt. She gasps, her hands fly to her mouth, and she murmurs, "Unbelievable."
I can just imagine the relief.
And suddenly, they aren't awkward anymore. They wander through the glowing city. The planned, perfect romantic route is completely forgotten. They are just walking.
We've been jolted out of their performative roles. They aren't the suitor and the date anymore. They are just 2 human beings who have mutually witnessed something extraordinary.
Claire kicks a pebble on the sidewalk, which is such a great, grounding physical detail. And she makes this profound observation. She says that most people would have just pretended not to notice.
Right.
They would have looked away from the awkwardness. But the server didn't. She saw 2 people feeling awful, and she fixed it. I want to dig into that, because why do we look away? It feels callous, but we all do it.
It's the bystander effect, specifically driven by a diffusion of responsibility.
Diffusion of responsibility.
Yeah, in a room full of people, everyone subconsciously calculates that someone else will handle the anomaly or that it's not their place to intervene. But it's also about adherence to the social script.
Like keeping the peace.
Exactly. The unspoken rule in a fine dining environment dictates that we ignore other people's discomfort to maintain the polite atmosphere.
Yeah.
Acknowledging the awkwardness feels like breaking the rules of the room.
And the server actively chose to rip up that script.
She tore it to shreds.
And because she ripped up that script, the date ends in a completely unexpected way. It doesn't end with the dramatic, cinematic final kiss under a street lamp that the narrator had originally planned in his head.
No.
It ends with a slow walk, a handshake, and a profound realization of shared grace. Have you, as a listener, ever had a moment like that, where an unplanned disaster like a flat tire, a spilled drink, a completely bungled introduction, and the shared vulnerability that came with it actually did more for a relationship than trying to be impressive ever could?
It's the paradox of vulnerability. We spend so much energy trying to project invulnerability, thinking that's what attracts people and makes us desirable. We curate the lighting, the jazz, the conversation topics. But the reality is that shared vulnerability is the strongest binding agent in human relationships. The ultimate takeaway from this source isn't just that people can be nice. It's that the small, anonymous act of empathy entirely eclipsed the artificial romance.
The expensive dinner feels entirely trivial compared to the handwritten receipt.
The shared experience of receiving what the author calls unscripted grace transformed a moment of crushing humiliation into enduring redemption. Think about it. If the evening had gone perfectly, it would have been a lovely memory of a nice meal.
But it would have faded.
It would have faded. Because it broke down so spectacularly, and because someone intervened, it became a foundational story of human goodness.
A flawless date is forgotten in a year. A broken date saved by a sprinting waitress is a story you tell for the rest of your life. We started today in this amber-lit, rosemary-scented bubble of curated perfection. We explored the agonizing, literal heat of a declined credit card and the brutal fracture of the social contract. And finally, we experienced the breathtaking relief of a secret paid receipt and the genuine human connection that followed in its wake.
As we wrap up, I think there is a direct application for you, the listener, as you navigate your own public spaces.
Absolutely.
We all witness other people's minor or major embarrassments. A dropped tray in a cafeteria, a colleague stumbling through a presentation, a parent struggling with a crying child in a store. In those moments, the diffusion of responsibility will always tell you to politely look away, to adhere to the standard social script.
But you always have a choice.
You do. You can choose to be the intervention. You can choose to be the invisible hand that writes paid on the metaphorical receipt.
You can choose to dissolve the pain privately. And that leaves me with one final thought for you to mull over as you go about your day. We spend immense amounts of time, energy, and money trying to curate our lives to run perfectly smoothly. We want the flawless first date, the seamless career trajectory, the picture-perfect vacation.
We want the noise-canceling headset to never run out of battery.
Right. But if the machinery of our modern, highly curated lives didn't occasionally break down and leave us totally exposed, would we ever actually experience the raw, unscripted grace of true human connection? Maybe, just maybe, the stomach-dropping moment it all crashes and burns is exactly the moment the real magic begins.